There, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. It's about 12:24 p.m. here along the West Coast in California, where it's raining again here in Northern California. Very active out here along the Eastern Pacific as well, including the West Coast. Latest quake, a 1.7 into the California region. Latest quake there on the globe. All right, let's go ahead and check out the USGS flat scale model, and I think we all can agree quite a bit of activity ramping up here along the Eastern Pacific, and that includes areas down south here along the South Pacific, Antarctica plate boundary. A lot of uptick going on. Yesterday we had Alaska swarming with quite a few fours up here. We did have some further adjustment up into the Gulf region, up here at the very extreme Gulf. 4.5 coming in late last night, but it appears this activity has definitely shifted downstream a little bit here along the west coast, off the coast of Oregon, well off the coast into the Blanco fracture zone. We've seen some activity kicking up early this morning, 4.5, and then just about 5 minutes later, we had a 5.0 within that same area. But, about 25 miles separation there between those two quakes, but still within the Blanco fracture zone. Indicative here of some stress out here along the west coast. Following that activity, we've seen some adjustment going on down here into the Northern California area. Seen a 4.1 coming in. It's a few hours after the adjustment up here along the Blanco fracture zone, but this type of plate boundary, this type of fault system up here, tends to produce stress downstream here in this area. Hence the Gorda Ridges, kind of a little area out here off the coast of Northern California, Oregon. But we do see quite a bit of strain being applied out here in Northern California currently. So that 4.1 coming in into the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust area. Just prior to it, north of the plate boundary here of the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate to the south, Juan de Fuca plate up to the north, but technically, if you want to get specific, this little microplate here is called the Gorda plate, but as a whole, a lot of people just refer this as the Juan de Fuca plate. So, a little bit of activity kicking up here at the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust today. 11 kilometers deep for that earthquake. We have seen some tremor activity here yesterday. Let me show you guys the tremor map from yesterday down here in the Northern California, extreme Northern California, southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Tremor, right? This is down dip, downstream of the Cascadia, which sits right offshore here. Remember this Gorda plate, the Juan de Fuca plate as a whole, is slowly being subducted eastward underneath the North American plate. And then tremor activity occurs down there about 35 kilometers deep, 45 kilometers deep, somewhere around there. Sometimes a little bit more shallower. But and when that happens, we do see some strain build up here upstream, and sometimes in areas far away, depending on if there's enough stress built up in the region. And of course, we know all this activity is leading up one day to the Cascadia megathrust throwing out a 9.0 earthquake, which would be, something like we have not seen here. We weren't around back in 1700 to see the devastating effects that it will produce. 9.0, not something I would wish on anyone out here along the West Coast. So, activity on the tremor side yesterday was uptick on the uptick scale. And specifically down here in Northern California and Southern Oregon. And I believe that's the activity we're seeing today due to the regional stress out here. So watch that region closely. And also, of course, we're getting a lot of rainfall on these fault systems here. Not so much, obviously, out in the ocean. They already have enough water, right? But here inland into the interior part of Northern California, we'll start to see these things probably light up here in the coming weeks and months, potentially, as the water gets down there and lubricates the locked fault areas, potentially triggering some earthquakes out here. So we'll watch that pretty closely. Excuse me. All right, Bay Area for now, though, looks a little spotty. Some 1s and 2s out here. Let me bring up the 2.5 map and see what we have. Most of this, I believe, is from yesterday. Let me zoom in here to the Salinas area. Yeah, Mariposa 3.1, San Juan Bautista. These are from yesterday, so no newer 2-pointers up there. Now down here, excuse me, I just got hiccups. Missy Mimi's brought this awesome Frappuccino. I'm not going to say the name out here, but oh my gosh, it's so good. It's called the Maui Mocha Frappuccino. And I got a brain freeze right before I was starting to do this update. Now I have hiccups. So, goodness. Okay, 3.2 on the San Jacinto fault zone. Now downstream here, along the southern segment here of that same fault system, San Jacinto, whatever you prefer, we had been seeing a swarm of activity up and down this region here, down around the Borrego Springs, and a few days ago up here on the northern part of the San Jacinto fault zone. And today we got a 3.2 coming in. So a little bit of activity definitely kicking up here in the southern portion of the state. Kind of a line of activity stretching here across Riverside over to Los Angeles. So we'll watch that. Again, you know, a lot of rainfall fell throughout this area of the state yesterday in the past couple days. So we'll watch that for some further movement for sure. All right, Pacific Northwest, didn't mean to leave you guys out up here. There's just not a whole lot of activity occurring in this region currently today. Looks like this morning, though, we did have a 2.4 and a couple other ones scattered up and about around the Seattle area and down south of Mount St. Helens through the Intermountain West area. A little spotty activity through Salt Lake City, stretching down to about northwest of Las Vegas. A little bit of activity out there in the desert. And the Yellowstone area, let's see what we have for Yellowstone. Take a quick peek here at it and see what we have. Not a whole lot going on at all. Zip zero, nada. No earthquake activity whatsoever to report. And further inland, a little bit of activity in Texas coming in this morning as well. 2.6 and a 2.9 outside of Pecos, Texas. And up in the Oklahoma area. Beautiful state of Oklahoma. One from yesterday and one just after 2 o'clock in the morning. Outside of Enid, 1.4. Coming into the beautiful state of Oklahoma. We had one earthquake out here into the South Carolina region late last night, a 1.9. Kind of out, well, remember the swarm we had last year? Had quite a bit of swarming in this area. But now 1.9 kicking up. I don't recall if it's specifically within our swarm area. I don't think we had too much activity here over the last 30 days. In fact, this is the only one. But definitely last year, we've seen a couple weeks of earthquakes out here. So we'll watch this region, see if it picks up here in the near future. Not a whole lot going on through the Caribbean area or the South America region. Did see a 4.5, it looks like, early this morning coming in. Quick glance here at the EMSC earthquake model here. Shows a 4.2. The latest quake here into the Chile area. Now that is following the 4.5 that came in early this morning. So a little bit of uptick working its way into this area. And looking at this model, it appears though that teeter-totter effect I chat about a lot here is in full swing here around the Eastern Pacific and adjacent plates. So just a heads up. We also had a 5.9 down here into that plate boundary, the Pacific. And the Antarctica region that actually reported as a 6.0 from the USGS. Looks like the EMSC reported a 5.9, so awesome. It is in a zone that does see quite a bit of earthquake activity. Backing out here on the map, you can see that area of question. 5.9, 6.0 out there along the plate boundary. Definitely some movement. And that is in the, let's see, I believe there's a fracture zone out here. A Menard fracture zone right at, looks like the eastern end here. So a little bit of activity kicking up here around the Eastern Pacific and the extreme southern portion. Now over here around New Zealand and the rest of the area, most of this movement here from yesterday. We did see two earthquakes earlier this morning, a 5.6 and a 5.0 occurring. One at the Tonga Trench, and then a little bit later, about 20 minutes later, we've seen some adjustment over here with that westward plate movement around the Indonesia area. Now up north around Japan and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Yeah, looks like we did have some this morning as well. 4.4 and a 4.7 into these respected areas. A little bit of activity kicking up here at the shallow levels. Nothing really kicking up downstream currently. That could be an indicator that the pressure is great enough out here to see potentially a larger quake at the subduction levels. With all the deeper movement that we've been seeing in these areas. Also, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench and southward around Taiwan over the past few months, and a lot of last year, a lot of deeper activity in some of these subduction zones with very minimal upstream, surface earthquake activity. So a lot at stake here as far as the buildup goes. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench has been on my watch list here for a little while. That's kind of where this 4.7 kicked off, or 4.4, excuse me, kicked off about 5 o'clock this morning. Right at the subduction zone level, just a little bit upstream here on the Pacific side. 10 kilometers deep, defaulted. All right, Alaska area. Again, we had some movement over here into the Gulf. Looks like, what do we have here? We had a 4.5 coming in late last night. A couple other smaller earthquakes in that region. Yesterday, they're dropped off the map, but we did see some 4s. And I think we even seen a 5 over here as well. 5.0 coming in yesterday into the subduction level of the Aleutian Trench. The Big Island of Hawaii in the middle of it all. What's going on out there in that important spot in the Pacific? A couple 2s outside the Pahala area. Nothing major going on. Not really seeing any major changes. Nothing specific showing up as far as volcanic activity. Of course, Kilauea Volcano continues the eruptive stage. The latest info here from the Volcano Hazard Network still has Kilauea Volcano on in orange and a watch level. Excuse me. Let's see what we got for the latest update here from the USGS Volcano site as we wait and wait and wait. All right, let's see here. Update from Kilauea. Looks like this was put out this morning. Awesome. So latest update here. Looks like the eruption of the Kilauea volcano within the crater has continued over the past 24 hours. All eruptive activity has been confined to the crater. No significant changes have been observed at the summit or in either rift zone. Eruption of lava from vents on the central eastern portion of the crater floor continued. Looks like activity now is concentrated in the eastern half of the crater within the basin in the western half of the crater. That was the focus of the activity back 2021, 2022. And they do have a live stream video up here. Looks like it's listed up on YouTube. But either way, no major changes. Just kind of continuing here at the Kilauea volcano. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, by the way, I did issue out here on the live stream. I do have an earthquake watch out here for the West Coast due to all the increasing activity out here currently on a broad scale. Now, there's no specific swarms that we're watching, just looking at regional activity and stress areas. That includes the entire West Coast here, out here for potential larger scale activity. All right, what do we got here in the Mediterranean region? North here into the, where is this? Bosnia area, 3.0. That one coming in from yesterday. Let me see what we got. Not a whole lot there. Even on the microquake scale, there's just very minimal movement. And it looks like we've come to a halt here across the area of that portion of the world. Seems like it's stopped right about the northern end of the Java Trench, leaving this area in a seismic gap zone. Now, if there is enough stress built up here, and we continue to see that westward plate pressure transfer from the east to the west, then we could see some further larger scale uptick here around northern India, potentially areas around Myanmar, maybe extreme northern Java Trench area as well. But focus for now looks like the eastern Pacific and adjacent plates. There's that 4.0 into the Peru area. Now, New Zealand, They did have a 3.1, 3.5. I believe those are from, let's see here, I believe they're from yesterday. Actually, 3.3 was just about 2 hours ago, and a 3.5 5 hours ago. Okay. That's right. Wider rings here indicating the newer movement. So a little bit of activity. 48 kilometers for that 3.5. 5 kilometers north of the Milford Sound for that 3.3 South Island. Prior to that, looks like some movement yesterday. Let's give a quick glance here at the volcanic drums. See if we've got anything of noteworthy events popping up here. And nah, not really. There's going to be the three-pointer and some activity yesterday, but no major movement kicking up here on any of these seismograph stations there into the beautiful area of New Zealand. Now, a lot of red here on this solar ham site. This is space weather activity. There's a lot of complex solar sunspots currently facing Earth, and they harbor the potential for some X flares. Now, we haven't really seen anything too awesome since our last M flare. That one coming in, I believe that was late last night. This is a UTC time. Maybe that was early this morning. But either way, things kind of on the quiet side for now. But we can see that change in the blink of an eye. We are crackling with C flares. Again, that last M flare was a little bit ago. Looks like about the 0800 UTC time. It's currently 2040. So yeah, late last night sometime was that last M flare. Let's look at these sunspot regions and see what we have here for the latest activity. This one here is still ginormous. It looks like it's degrading slightly. This one appears growing. This is the one that produced the X 1.0 recently. And this sunspot region here is the one that produced the second strongest flare in solar cycle 25, which is the X 1.9 from this regional sunspot. It still harbors some potential here of some X flare probability. This one here as well. This one as well. Let's see what we got for the magnetic structure here. 3181. Looks like that harbors a beta gamma class, beta gamma delta from 3182. That's going to be the, that's a pretty massive sunspot here, 3182. This region right here. Now 3184, 3186 both harbor the beta delta class. I still think we have a really good shot of seeing another X flare from both of those sunspots. It looks like 3186 harbors the best chance of seeing the X flare probability with a 15% chance here compared to these other sunspots. So we'll watch that one. It's coming around the bend. It's already produced one X flare, again a 1.0. That was from 3186 up there, the one I just showed you. Coming around the northeastern limb, getting a better view at it. No major changes expected here to the 3-day forecast in the geomagnetic storming department. Things look pretty calm. Green. We want to see these in the yellow and red if we're going to look at the auroras up at the higher latitudes and potentially mid-latitudes should we get a significant storm. But for now, things very calm and mellow across the area. Yeah, AR 3182 rotating into the southwest quadrant showed some signs of decay, but could still produce an M flare. I was just reading their latest update here. Basically the same thing that I just discussed with you folks here. I'll watch these two sunspots over here. This one here, I still think it's got a probability. It's decaying slightly, but you know, these things can change in the blink of an eye. Let me see what we got here for the latest imagery. Sometimes these things sparkle a little bit. A little sparkle to the smile of the sunspot regions before they produce a significant flare. And right now the brightest region looks to be that one, the main one up here, that does harbor the highest chance for that X flare, 3186. All right, let's see what else we got. No major other events to chat about. Weather, it's wet, definitely wet. And we'll take a quick glance here at the West Coast forecast. And there's our storm coming in right now. Picked up, we picked up another ½ inch of rain here overnight since about midnight here at my place. And it's supposed to rain all day, light rain, but it's ponding out there already because the ground is super soaked. Not much, I don't know how much more it can soak up. Have a nice swimming pool or lake in my backyard. So yeah, activity continuing. It's going to back off a little bit. High pressure over here is kind of scooting that, of course, with the clockwise direction of the high pressure system here in the northern hemisphere, scooting that jet stream off a little bit, pushing it back away from Northern California as far as the inland areas go. But along the coastline, they're going to get a fairly good drenching. And then that system kind of scoots right back in here for the day on Thursday and Friday. And some unsettled conditions there, it looks like, Friday night. And then we get another good storm system coming in Saturday and into Sunday. And you can see the storm door remains open for the next couple days next week. And then we get, well, let's see here. See, these things change left and right. Even changing from last night. Ooh, wow, that's a cold system there. That almost shows snow down to the Chico area. That would be quite impressive if we got all this rain and then a huge snowstorm on top of that. Ooh, that does show, looks like Glenn County covered in snow. That would include areas around Willows, Orland, Corning getting some, Redding. Wow. And even around the Chico area, a whole bunch of snow. Again, this is way out. These things are subject to change, and they're bouncing back all over the place with this model run coming about the 20th time frame. Remember, a couple days ago, I showed you this similar forecast, and it showed dry conditions. Now, it appears that we get some much colder air coming down straight out of the north, bringing in those low snow levels. So we'll watch that and see how it plays out. Wow. Yeah, it looks different. This is going to be an interesting scenario here and see how this plays out. Awesome. Either way, it's not boring. We're not getting boring weather. That's one thing I can't handle. In fact, I'm cooking up right now. I just put on there, well, about an hour ago, I put up a 17-pound brisket on the barbecue. I'm smoking it with some cherry wood. It'll be ready here about, I'll probably cook it between 8 to 10 hours. So right around maybe 9 o'clock or so my time, it'll be ready. Low and slow. It should come out pretty good. It's been a while since I cooked a brisket, and there's not a better day I can think of besides a rainy, cool day than to barbecue a big old hunk of meat out there on the grill. All right, folks, let's see what else we have. Goodness. Hopefully I can wait that long. I have to. I don't like to cook those things fast. They come out chewy if you do that. If you cook it low and slow, oh, it's like butter. Go in there with a knife, and it just kind of slices easily. Some good stuff. So who's coming over for dinner? There's plenty. 17-pound brisket. Goodness. Yeah, so West Coast, just heads up, with all the activity. There's a 2.6 coming in, Java Trench area. It's back building. It appears as though there's just not enough momentum here, westward pressure movement, to kick up along this area of the plate boundary. But if there is, then we need to watch these regions up north around Myanmar, northern India, Afghanistan area in that seismic gap zone. But also at the same time, we've seen these regions here around the Mariana Trench go fairly quiet. There's some volcanic activity at the underwater seamount down here, somewhere around here, around the Mariana Islands area. That's showing some signs of activity, but no large-scale earthquake activity here in some time. So a couple areas to watch, folks. But for now, as long as we're still seeing that activity here along the west coast, eastern Pacific and adjacent plates here, it's a for sure sign of to keep your eyes open. Some stress building up out here in the California area. There's that 3.2. Alrighty, guys, have a good day. I'm gonna go back out, double check my brisket. It's gonna be one of those things. I like to barbecue with natural charcoal. I don't use propane. I don't use natural gas. I don't use any of that. That's not barbecuing to me. To me, that's just like outdoor cooking. You know, if I wanted to, some people like it. That's fine. But I prefer the natural way. And I got to go out there and check it about every half hour or so. So I will be busy making sure I don't burn it and making sure it doesn't completely die out. It's got to be just right. Have a good day, folks. We'll catch you guys a little bit later on tonight. Have a good one.